Was any of it real? His voice cracked as he stared at the woman he loved, the FBI wire she'd been wearing now lying on his desk between them like a confession. The past 3 months. Did you feel anything or was it all just part of the job? Ophelia's hands shook, tears streaming down her face as 3 years of carefully buried rage exploded to the surface. You want to know if it was real? You killed my sister. Her voice broke on the words. Jade. Her name was Jade. She was 23 years old, and you shot her down in the street like she was nothing. So no, it wasn't real. None of it was real. Kim Woo-bin stepped back like she'd physically struck him, his face draining of color. Your sister, he whispered, horror dawning in his eyes as he looked down at the file still open on his desk. Park Street shooting. June 2020. Jade Ross. Oh God. That's why you're here. That's why you took the job as my maid. You've been investigating me this whole time. Yes. The word came out cold, final. I've been building a case against you. Getting evidence. Wearing wires. Playing the devoted girlfriend while planning your destruction. And tomorrow morning, the FBI is coming for you. But how did they get here? How did an undercover FBI agent fall in love with the man responsible for her sister's death? And how did a ruthless crime lord become someone capable of change? Let me take you back to where it all started. 3 months earlier, with a burgundy dress, a dangerous mission, and a question that would change both their lives forever. The burgundy dress hugged her curves effortlessly, and the moment Ophelia Ross passed by Kim Woo-bin's office, his breath caught without warning. He'd noticed her countless times before, the quiet housekeeper in his Atlanta mansion, always unobtrusive, eyes lowered, presence easy to overlook. But tonight was different. In that dress, her natural hair cascading freely down her back, her brown skin radiant beneath the corridor lights, she was impossible to ignore. For the first time, she wasn't invisible, and he felt it deep in his chest. The crystal glass in his hand cracked. Just slightly. Enough that whiskey leaked between his fingers. His second-in-command, Ji-han, cleared his throat from the doorway. Sir, do you want me to stop her? But Woo-bin was already moving, his voice low and dangerous. Where exactly do you think you're going dressed like that? Ophelia hadn't expected him to notice. She'd been working in his house for 6 months, playing the role of the meek, forgettable maid perfectly. But tonight was different. Tonight was the annual gala at the Park Hotel, where all of Atlanta's underground leaders gathered. She had the night off, and she'd planned to attend with a wire hidden in her clutch and a mission to finally get close to Woo-bin's inner circle. She turned slowly, meeting his dark eyes with practiced calm. I have plans. It's my night off. The silence stretched between them like a living thing. Woo-bin's jaw tightened, and for the first time in 6 months, he really looked at her. Not through her. At her. Dressed like that, he said, each word deliberate. You have plans. It's just a dress, Mr. Kim. It wasn't just a dress. The burgundy fabric hugged every curve, highlighting the dip of her waist, the fullness of her hips. She'd chosen it carefully, knowing he'd see her leave. Knowing it would plant a seed. Who are you meeting? His voice had dropped lower, almost threatening. Ophelia raised her chin. That's not really your business. Something flashed in his eyes. Surprise, maybe. His employees didn't talk back. Ever. Everything in my house is my business. I don't live here. I work here. And right now, I'm off the clock. She turned to leave, her heart pounding. This was the risk. Push too hard and he'd get suspicious. Don't push enough and he'd lose interest. Ophelia. Her name in his mouth stopped her cold. He'd never said it before. Who are you meeting? She glanced back over her shoulder, letting a small smile play on her lips. Wouldn't you like to know? Then she walked out, feeling his eyes burning into her back with every step. 3 hours later, Ophelia stood in the Park Hotel ballroom, her wire recording everything, when she felt him before she saw him. The energy in the room shifted. Conversation stuttered. People moved out of the way without realizing they were doing it. Kim Woo-bin entered like he owned the place. Which, technically, he probably did through some shell company. He wore all black, his tailored suit fitting him perfectly, his dark hair styled back. The dragon tattoo on his neck seemed to pulse with each step he took. His eyes found her immediately across the crowded room. Ophelia's stomach dropped. This wasn't part of the plan. He wasn't supposed to be here. He crossed the ballroom floor with purpose, ignoring everyone trying to get his attention. When he reached her, he didn't say anything at first. Just stood there, his presence overwhelming. "Mr. Kim," she said coolly. "I didn't know you'd be here. That's the point of surveillance, isn't it? To know things." His eyes traveled down her dress and back up. "You clean houses during the day. This," he gestured to the expensive venue, "doesn't match. I have friends. Rich friends. Generous friends." A man approached them, someone Ophelia recognized from her briefings. Henry Lim, one of Woo Bin's business partners. He didn't recognize her as the maid, of course. Why would he? "Woo Bin," Henry said, then his eyes landed on Ophelia with clear appreciation. "And who is this beautiful woman?" Woo Bin's hand moved to the small of Ophelia's back, possessive and warm through the thin fabric. "She's with me." Ophelia should have pulled away. Should have protested. Instead, she let him claim her, because this was exactly what she needed. Access. "I didn't realize," Henry said carefully, reading the territorial body language. "Now you do." After Henry left, Ophelia turned to Woo Bin. "I'm not with you. Tonight you are. Unless you want every man in this room thinking you're available." "Maybe I am available." His jaw clenched. "You're not. You don't own me, Mr. Kim." "Not yet." The words were quiet, almost to himself, but she heard them. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Woo Bin kept her close, his hand never leaving her back or her waist. To everyone watching, they looked like a couple. Ophelia's wire captured names, conversations, deals being made in shadowy corners. But she was also hyper-aware of the man beside her. The heat of his palm. The subtle scent of his cologne. The way his body angled toward hers like a shield. This wasn't supposed to happen. She wasn't supposed to feel anything. When he drove her home that night, the tension in his expensive car was suffocating. "You never told me who you were meeting," he said finally. "You never asked again." "I'm asking now." Ophelia looked out the window at Atlanta's lights blurring past. "Friends. Just friends. The man who touched your shoulder." So he'd been watching even when she thought he wasn't. Just a friend. He wants more than friendship. That's his problem, not mine. Woo Bin pulled up to her small apartment building in a neighborhood that definitely didn't match the gala she'd just attended. He stared at the building, then at her. "This is where you live?" "Yes." "It's not safe." "I manage." He looked like he wanted to say more, but instead he got out and opened her door. The gesture surprised her. In 6 months of working for him, she'd never seen him be gentle with anyone. At her building's entrance, he stopped. "Tomorrow. Dinner." It wasn't a question, but Ophelia treated it like one. "I have plans." "Cancel them." "I don't take orders off the clock, Mr. Kim." Something flickered in his eyes. Frustration. Interest. "Woo Bin. Call me Woo Bin. I'll think about it." She pulled out her keys, very aware of how close he was standing. "Good night, Mr. Kim." She left him standing there and didn't look back, even though every instinct screamed at her to turn around. Inside her apartment, she pulled out her phone and called her handler. "It's working. He's interested." "Good. Stay close. We need access to his files." After she hung up, Ophelia stared at herself in the mirror. She'd spent 6 months planning this. 6 months preparing to get close to the man who'd killed her sister. Jade had been 23. Beautiful. Bright. Full of life. And she'd been shot down in the street 3 years ago, caught in the crossfire of one of Woo Bin's operations. The police report said wrong place, wrong time. But Ophelia had dug deeper. Found witnesses who said Woo Bin himself had been there. Had fired the shots. Had walked away while her sister bled out on the pavement. She'd joined the FBI because of Jade. Spent 2 years training. Another year building a cover story. Getting hired as Woo Bin's maid had been pure luck, or maybe fate. And now, finally, she was getting close. She just had to ignore the way her heart had raced when he'd touched her back. The way his voice saying her name had made her skin tingle. The way some traitorous part of her had liked being claimed by him. It didn't matter. None of it mattered. By the end of this, Kim Woo Bin would be in prison, and Jade would finally have justice. The next morning, Ophelia showed up for work like normal. She cleaned the east wing, vacuumed the library, polished the endless windows. She was folding laundry in the service room when Woo Bin appeared in the doorway. She jumped. He never came to the service areas. "Mr. Kim. Did you need something?" He leaned against the doorframe, watching her with an intensity that made her nervous. "You ignored my dinner invitation." "I didn't ignore it. I declined it." "Why?" "Because you're my employer. It's inappropriate." "That didn't stop you from letting me touch you last night." Heat flooded her cheeks. "That was different. You were just making a point to your friend." "Was I?" He moved closer, and Ophelia's back hit the folding table. "Or was I making a point to every man in that room that you're off limits?" "I'm not off limits. I'm not anyone's." "Not yet," he said again, echoing his words from the night before. "This is harassment, Mr. Kim." "Is it?" His hand came up to her face, stopping just short of touching her. "Tell me to leave and I will." She should tell him to leave. Should threaten to report him. Instead, she stood frozen, her heart racing, her mind screaming at her to push him away while her body refused to move. "I thought so," he said quietly. Then he stepped back, giving her space. "Dinner. Tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. Wear something nice." He paused at the door. "And Ophelia? Stop pretending you don't feel this." After he left, Ophelia's hands shook so badly she couldn't fold the laundry. She called her handler again. "He asked me to dinner." "Perfect. Accept. We need you inside his inner circle." "I know." "Ophelia, are you okay?" No. She wasn't okay. Because part of her wanted to go to dinner with him for reasons that had nothing to do with the mission. And that terrified her. "I'm fine. I'll handle it." The next evening, Ophelia stood in front of her closet trying to decide what to wear. The rose dress felt too obvious. Too much like she was trying. She settled on a simple black dress, elegant but not flashy. Woo Bin picked her up at 7 exactly. He wore a dark gray suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent, and he looked at her like she was the only person in the world. "You look beautiful." "Thank you." She slid into his car, noting the expensive leather, the sleek dashboard. Everything about him screamed money and power. He took her to a restaurant she'd only read about in magazines. The kind of place where you needed reservations months in advance. They were seated immediately at a private table in the back. "So," Woo Bin said after they'd ordered. "Tell me about yourself." "Real things." Not the interview answers. There's not much to tell. I work. I pay bills. Normal life. Nothing about you is normal, Ophelia. You don't know me. I want to. He leaned forward. I've watched you for 6 months. You think I haven't noticed the way you observe everything? The way you're always aware of your surroundings. The way you never really relax. Her blood ran cold. Had she been sloppy? I just like to be careful. Why? Atlanta's not the safest city. No. It's not. Something dark crossed his face. Especially not in my line of work. This was it. An opening. What exactly is your line of work, Mr. Kim? Woo Bin, he corrected. And you know what I do. Everyone in Atlanta knows. Import-export. That was his cover story. He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Among other things. Does it bother you? Yes. Should it? Most people are scared of me. Are you trying to scare me? No. He reached across the table and took her hand. His touch was warm, gentle. Nothing like the ruthless crime lord she'd studied in files. I'm trying to get you to trust me. Trust him? The man who killed her sister. Ophelia wanted to pull her hand away, wanted to scream at him, wanted to pull out her gun and end this right now. Instead, she squeezed his hand and smiled. Trust is earned, Woo Bin. Then let me earn it. Over the next few weeks, Ophelia fell into a dangerous routine. She worked during the day, cleaning Woo Bin's mansion while wearing a wire and planting bugs when she could. At night, she went on dates with him. Dinners. Movies. Long drives through Atlanta where they talked about everything and nothing. He told her about growing up in Seoul, about his father's expectations, about inheriting an empire he'd never wanted but couldn't escape. She told him carefully edited stories about her childhood, about her mother who died young, about wanting more from life than what she had. She didn't tell him about Jade. Never mentioned having a sister. That information wasn't in her cover story, and she couldn't risk him finding out. But every time he touched her, every time he smiled at her like she was precious, every time he kissed her goodnight with surprising tenderness, she felt the weight of her lies getting heavier. 2 months after that first dinner, Woo Bin's behavior started changing. He became possessive. Jealous. When one of his security guards looked at Ophelia too long, the man was transferred. When she mentioned having coffee with a friend, Woo Bin showed up at the cafe like he just happened to be in the neighborhood. You're following me, she accused him one evening. I'm protecting you. From what? From everything. Everyone. He cupped her face in his hands. You don't understand how dangerous my world is. The enemies I have. If they knew about you, if they knew what you mean to me. What do I mean to you? Everything. The word came out raw. You mean everything. Ophelia's chest tightened. This wasn't supposed to happen. He wasn't supposed to actually fall for her. And she definitely wasn't supposed to feel anything back. But she did. God help her, she did. That night, after he dropped her off, she sat in her apartment and cried. Real tears. Because she was falling in love with the man who'd killed her sister, and she hated herself for it. Her handler's voice was sharp when she called. You're getting too close. Remember why you're there. I know why I'm here. Do you? Because the last 3 bugs you planted have given us nothing. You're wasting time with dinners and movies when you should be getting access to his files. It takes time to gain his trust. We don't have time. The Bureau wants results, Ophelia. Get us something solid or we're pulling you out. After she hung up, Ophelia made a decision. She needed to push things forward. Needed to get into Woo Bin's private office where he kept his files. And there was only one way to do that. She had to sleep with him. The thought made her sick. Not because she didn't want to. That was the problem. She did want to. Had been wanting to for weeks now. But using intimacy as a weapon felt like crossing a line she couldn't come back from. Still, Jade deserved justice. And Ophelia had come too far to back out now. The next evening, when Woo Bin picked her up for dinner, she wore a red dress that left little to the imagination. His eyes darkened when he saw her. Where did you get that? Do you like it? Every man who sees you in that is going to want you dead. Good thing I'll be with you then. They skipped dinner. Woo Bin drove straight to his mansion, his hand on her thigh the entire way, his jaw clenched tight. Inside, he poured them both whiskey with shaking hands. Ophelia, he said, his voice strained. You need to tell me what you want. Because if you came here looking like that and you don't want this, you need to leave now. She set down her glass and walked to him. Put her hands on his chest. Felt his heart racing beneath her palms. I want this. I want you. The kiss that followed was desperate. Hungry. All the tension that had been building between them exploding at once. His hands were everywhere. Her back. Her waist. Tangled in her hair. She wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him back just as desperately, hating herself, wanting him, drowning in contradictions. He carried her upstairs to his bedroom, laying her down on silk sheets like she was something precious. And then he made love to her with a tenderness that broke her heart into pieces. Afterward, she lay in his arms while he slept, his breathing deep and even, one arm around her waist like even in sleep he couldn't let her go. This was her chance. The office was just down the hall. She could slip out, find his files, get what she needed and disappear. But she couldn't move. Couldn't make herself leave his warmth. Couldn't face the reality of what she'd just done. So she stayed. Hated herself for staying. And when morning came and he kissed her awake, she kissed him back and pretended everything was fine. Over the next few weeks, Ophelia became a permanent fixture in Woo Bin's life. She still officially worked as his maid, but everyone knew she was really his girlfriend. His staff treated her differently. His associates nodded respectfully when they saw her. His second-in-command, Jae Han, started including her in conversations. And slowly, carefully, she started getting access. She saw files left open on his desk. Heard phone conversations about shipments and territories. Learned names and dates and locations. Everything her handlers needed to build a case. But she also saw other things. The way Woo Bin donated to children's hospitals under fake names. The way he helped struggling families in Koreatown pay their rent. The way he mentored young Korean men trying to make it in Atlanta, steering them away from crime when he could. He wasn't just a monster. He was complicated. Human. And that made everything so much worse. One evening, 3 months into their relationship, Ophelia was in Woo Bin's office waiting for him when she saw it. A file labeled, Park Street Shooting, June 2020. Her hands shook as she opened it. Inside were police reports, witness statements, photos of the scene. And there, in one of the photos, was her sister's body covered by a white sheet. The next page was a list of everyone involved. At the top was Woo Bin's name. Below it, a single word, shooter. Ophelia's vision blurred. She'd known. Had known for 3 years. But seeing it in writing, in his own files, made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Ophelia? She spun around. Woo Bin stood in the doorway, his expression confused. What are you doing with that file? She couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. Just stood there with the evidence of her sister's murder in her hands. He crossed the room slowly. Ophelia. Talk to me. This shooting, she managed to say. Tell me about it. His face went carefully blank. Why? Just tell me. He took the file from her hands, glancing at the date. She watched his expression shift. Saw memory and regret flash across his face. Park Street. 3 years ago. We were ambushed by the South Side crew. They'd been hitting our operations for months. We tracked them to that neighborhood, and... He stopped. It went bad. Really bad. Civilians got caught in the crossfire. How many? 4 people died. 2 others were critically injured. His jaw clenched. It was the worst day of my life. You killed them. I killed 3 members of the South Side crew. I don't know who shot the civilians. There were 8 people shooting, Ophelia. It was chaos. But you were there. You're responsible. Yes. His voice was hollow. I'm responsible. I think about those people every day. The woman who was pregnant. The old man who was just walking his dog. The young girl who was. He stopped. Looked down at the file again. Really looked. She was 23. College student. Wrong place, wrong time. He closed his eyes. Jade Ross. The room tilted. What did you say? Her name was Jade Ross. I looked up every victim after. Tried to find their families, see if there was anything I could. He looked up at Ophelia, and she watched the realization hit him like a physical blow. Oh God. Ross. Your last name is Ross. She couldn't move. Couldn't deny it. She was your sister. It wasn't a question. The silence stretched between them like broken glass. Tell me she wasn't your sister. His voice broke. Please, Ophelia. Tell me I didn't. She was my sister. The words came out cold. Dead. Her name was Jade. She was 23. She was going to be a teacher. She was the best person I've ever known. And you killed her. Wu Bin stepped back like she'd hit him. I didn't. I never meant. Oh God. He ran his hands through his hair, his breathing ragged. That's why you're here. That's why you took the job. It was never real. You've been, what? Investigating me? Yes. Trying to get evidence? Yes. Wearing a wire right now? She should lie. Instead, she told the truth. No. Not right now. He laughed, a broken, bitter sound. Well, that's something at least. He looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was so raw she had to look away. Was any of it real? The past 3 months? Did you feel anything, or was it all just part of the job? Does it matter? It matters to me. Why? Because the big bad crime lord has feelings. She threw the words at him like weapons. You killed my sister. You took her from me. From our family. And you just walked away. I didn't walk away. His voice was fierce. I've been trying to make up for that night for 3 years. I've donated millions to victim funds. I've shut down operations that put civilians at risk. I've pulled back from the territories that made those conflicts happen in the first place. And every single night, I see their faces. All 4 of them. Including your sister. That doesn't bring her back. I know. The fight went out of him. I know, and I'm sorry. God, Ophelia, I'm so sorry. If I could go back, if I could change it. But you can't. No. I can't. He moved toward her, then stopped, like he wasn't sure he had the right anymore. But I need you to know something. I didn't shoot her. I've gone over that night 1,000 times in my head. I shot 3 people. The Southside crew members. I know where every one of my bullets went. I didn't hit the civilians. You're lying. I'm not. Check the ballistics report. My gun didn't match the bullets they pulled from the civilian victims. It was one of the South Side crew. Or maybe one of my own men. I don't know. But it wasn't me. Ophelia wanted to call him a liar. Wanted to hate him with the pure, simple hatred that had kept her going for 3 years. But something in his voice made her pause. I don't believe you. Then check. The police have the ballistics. Your FBI handlers have access. Check, and you'll see I'm telling the truth. FBI. He knew. Of course he knew. When did you figure it out? A sad smile crossed his face. That you were a Fed? About a month ago. You're good, Ophelia. Really good. But you asked too many specific questions. Showed up at too many convenient times. I had you investigated. And you didn't say anything. No. Why? Because I'm in love with you. The confession hung in the air between them. I knew you were using me, and I didn't care. I thought maybe if I loved you enough, you'd see I wasn't the monster you thought I was. Tears burned Ophelia's eyes. You killed people. Yes. You run a criminal empire. Yes. You've ruined lives. Yes. He took a step closer. And I also fell in love with a woman who was sent to destroy me. Who hates me for good reason. Who I'd give everything up for if she asked. Don't, she whispered. Don't say things like that. Why not? It's true. Another step. I love you, Ophelia. I loved you before I knew who you were. I loved you when I found out. And I'll love you when you arrest me, because that's where this ends, right? You get your evidence and I go to prison. That was the plan. Was? The word hung between them. Ophelia wanted to say yes, that was still the plan. That nothing had changed. But she couldn't, because everything had changed. I need to go. She moved toward the door. Don't leave. Please. He caught her arm gently. Stay. Yell at me. Hit me if you want. But don't leave. Why? So you can manipulate me some more? I never manipulated you. Everything about us is manipulation. Not my feelings. Those were real. Are real. He let go of her arm. But you're right. You should go. I'll have Jihan drive you home. I can get myself home. Ophelia. He waited until she looked at him. For what it's worth, I really am sorry about your sister. And I know sorry doesn't mean anything, but I need you to hear it anyway. I'm sorry. If I could trade places with her, I would. She left without responding. Couldn't trust herself to speak without breaking down. In the car, she pulled out her phone and called her handler. He knows. What? Woo Bin knows I'm FBI. He's known for a month. Silence. Then, you need to come in. Now. There's something else. She took a shaky breath. The Park Street shooting. He says he didn't shoot the civilians. Says the ballistics will prove it. Ophelia. Check. Please. I need to know. You're too emotionally involved. You need to step back. Just check. 3 days later, Ophelia sat in her handler's office staring at a ballistics report. Her handler's voice was gentle. Kim Woo Bin's gun didn't match any of the bullets that killed the civilian victims. He shot 3 members of the South Side crew. Fatal shots, all of them. But he didn't shoot your sister. Then who did? Best guess. A man named Eugene Tao. He was one of Woo Bin's men. Killed 6 months later in another gang dispute. Ophelia's hands shook. So Woo Bin, he didn't. He's still responsible. He organized the operation. He brought guns to a civilian neighborhood. But he didn't pull the trigger that killed Jade. The room spun. Everything she believed for 3 years was wrong. Not completely wrong. Woo Bin was still guilty. Still responsible. But he hadn't been the one to actually shoot her sister. And she'd spent 3 months falling in love with him while planning his destruction. "What do we do now?" she asked quietly. "We have enough evidence to bring him in. Drug trafficking, money laundering, racketeering. We don't need the murder charge." "When?" "Tomorrow. We're doing a coordinated sweep of all his operations. Tomorrow." She had until tomorrow to decide if she was going to warn him. That night, Ophelia stood outside Woo Bin's mansion for an hour before finally ringing the bell. Ji-han answered, his expression surprised. "Miss Ross. Is he here?" "In his office. But I don't think he wants. I need to see him." Ji-han stepped aside, and Ophelia walked through the house she'd spent 6 months cleaning. Past the living room where she'd first worn the burgundy dress. Past the kitchen where Woo Bin had taught her to make Korean pancakes. Past the bedroom where they'd made love for the first time. She knocked on his office door. "Come in." He looked terrible. Like he hadn't slept in days. His normally perfect hair was messy, his tie loose, dark circles under his eyes. When he saw her, something flickered in his expression. Hope, maybe. "Ophelia. You were telling the truth. About the shooting." He stood slowly. "You checked." "Yes. And you didn't shoot her. One of your men did." "I know. Eugen. He was drunk that night, panicked when the shooting started. I've replayed that moment 1,000 times. If I'd seen him shoot, if I'd realized sooner." He stopped. "But I didn't. And your sister died. You're still responsible." "Yes. I am." Ophelia crossed the room until she stood in front of him. "The FBI is raiding your operations tomorrow morning. They have enough to put you away for 20 years. He didn't look surprised. "Thank you for telling me. You could run. Leave Atlanta. You have resources, connections. And spend my life looking over my shoulder?" "No." He reached out and touched her face gently. "If I run, I'll never see you again. And a life without you isn't worth living." "Don't say that. It's true." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "I love you, Ophelia. I know I have no right to. I know you hate me. But I love you, and I'm willing to face whatever punishment comes if there's even a chance you might forgive me someday." "I can't forgive you. I know. You took her from me. I know. I should hate you. You should. But I don't." The confession broke something in her. "I want to. God, I want to hate you so much. But I can't. Because you're not the monster I thought you were. You're just a man who made terrible choices and is trying to live with the consequences." His eyes closed. "Ophelia. They're going to arrest you tomorrow. I know. You could have 20 years in prison. I know. And I'm not going to wait for you. I wouldn't ask you to. But," she continued, her voice shaking, "if you survive prison. If you get out someday. And if you've changed. Really, truly changed. Then maybe we could try again." His eyes opened, and the hope in them was painful to see. "You mean that?" "I don't know. I'm so confused right now. I loved my sister. But I love you too, and I don't know how to make those two things coexist. You don't have to figure it out now. When they arrest you tomorrow, I'm not going to be there. I'm going to request a transfer. Go work somewhere else. Because I can't. I can't watch them take you away." "Okay. And you have to promise me something. Anything. In prison, you work on yourself. Really work. No more crime. No more violence. Become the man you pretended to be with me. I wasn't pretending. Then prove it. Serve your time. Get therapy. Figure out who you are without the empire. And then we'll see. She kissed him then. Soft and sad and full of everything they couldn't say. When she pulled back, there were tears on both their faces. I have to go. I know. Goodbye, Woo Bin. Not goodbye. See you later. She left him standing in his office, and this time she didn't look back. Couldn't let herself. The next morning, the FBI raided Kim Woo Bin's operations across Atlanta. They arrested him without incident. He didn't resist, didn't try to run, just put his hands behind his back and let them take him. Ophelia watched the news coverage from a hotel room across town. Saw him being led out in handcuffs. Saw reporters shouting questions. Saw him look directly at the camera like he knew she was watching. Then she turned off the TV and started packing. She'd requested a transfer to the New York office. It was approved. She was leaving Atlanta, leaving the memories, leaving him. But as she folded her clothes, she found the red dress. The one she'd worn the night they'd first slept together. She should throw it away. Should burn it. Instead, she packed it carefully at the bottom of her suitcase. Just in case. 5 years later, Ophelia stood outside Georgia State Prison, her hands shaking. The letter had come 3 months ago. Woo Bin's lawyer had contacted her with news. Woo Bin was being released early for good behavior. He'd spent every day of his 5 years working. He'd gotten his GED teaching certificate and had been teaching other inmates. He'd completed multiple therapy programs. He'd mentored dozens of young men, steering them away from the life he'd lived. And he'd written her letters. Hundreds of them. Not asking her to respond. Not demanding anything. Just telling her about his journey, his growth, the man he was becoming. Ophelia hadn't responded to a single one. But she'd kept every letter. Read each one multiple times until the paper was soft from her fingers. Now he was being released, and she'd driven from New York to Atlanta without fully understanding why. Their love grew slowly, shaped by grief and accountability. Long distance turned into shared space, anger into understanding, fear into commitment. Woo Bin dedicated his life to giving back. Ophelia rose through the FBI ranks without ever forgetting where she came from. When he asked her to marry him, it wasn't with certainty, but with truth. And when she said yes, it wasn't erasing the past, but choosing to live honestly alongside it. They built a life that was beautifully ordinary, a small house, a rescue dog, children named after love and memory. They told their kids the truth, not to glorify the pain, but to teach them that people can change. Years later, looking back at the long road they walked, from hatred to healing, they knew this much for sure: love didn't save them by ignoring the past. It saved them by facing it, together, one day at a time. Thank you for watching till the end. If this story moved you, subscribe for more. Like this post, drop a comment, and tell me, where are you watching from?